Welcome to another episode, everyone. Young Pharaoh is going outside. He's going out backwards. Wait until you check this out. Who is Young Pharaoh? Young Pharaoh is an individual of a black consciousness that was here on YouTube that really ushered in the black consciousness on YouTube in around about 2015. Him and Nature Boy and Brother Polite, sometimes Dr. Umar would join them. And now many individuals consider these individuals nothing but grifters, Brother Polite and Young Pharaoh. Now, Young Pharaoh was coming up, and then they took his YouTube channel. YouTube changed their policies around 2019, 2020, particularly when COVID came in, and about people promoting misinformation about COVID and all that. So they snatched his YouTube channel. He filed a lawsuit, lost the lawsuit. But he had began to get money, and then things began to change. He all of a sudden supported Donald Trump. Any black man who supports Donald Trump is not worth his salt. That's me saying that. He's someone who has been divested of his consciousness, if he ever had one, and does not understand YT supremacy. If you support Donald Trump, you do not care about black people because Donald Trump does not care about black people. Nevertheless, how can someone of a black consciousness, a black leader of sorts, support Donald Trump? This is what Young Pharaoh did. Now he's running around with long fingernails. He had raised money for Sandra Bland, the beautiful black woman brutally killed by the police. And he's accused of not giving that money to her family. In fact, he's accused of multiple and many scams. And then he all of a sudden got into polygamy and started dealing with multiple women. This is what happened with these so-called black leaders of black consciousness. Here on the internet, they're grifters. They lose their humbleness. They act like they're for the people and for the community until they start getting a lot of money. And then all of a sudden they become megastars. They're no longer full of this consciousness and fight for the liberation of our community. So we can't trust most of these individuals. And he began to get money and started dealing with different females, and he began to get caught up. And now he's apparently held up somewhere in some rundown apartment in Detroit going through it. Young Pharaoh, this is my guy, O'Shea Duke Jackson. He has the scoop.
In 2015, I had just joined up on YouTube, and there was a certain sector that was popping, the conscious community. Now, the meeting grounds for the conscious community at that particular time was Sonetter TV, also known as the House of Consciousness. And you would hear these extraordinary debates from everybody across the community. There was Brother Jabari, there was Dr. Ma'at, Captain Tazariak, every now and again, Dr. Umar Johnson, Brother Polite. But the youngest out of all of those people was a young brother by the name of Marshall Daniels from Buffalo, New York, also known as Young Pharaoh. Young Pharaoh would be popularized with the Black Woman is God teaching, and his YouTube career took off in a way that I've never seen anybody else do it. His first actual video on YouTube hit 100,000 views, and he was touring around the country. He was debating, he was teaching, he was getting in beefs. The legendary one I remember was him versus the Nation of Islam. And while he was doing good, not everything was peaches and cream. Sandra Bland died around the same time that Young Pharaoh was coming up. And Young Pharaoh was accused of fundraising in Sandra Bland's name and pocketing the money instead of giving it to her family. That was one allegation. Another was that Young Pharaoh was doing this under multiple GoFundMes that caused people to question his credibility in the conscious community. But Young Pharaoh's views kept going off the charts.
Oh, so his morality was being questioned as it related to the black community and a black woman who had lost her life in the most brutal of fashions at the hands of a YT supremacist system. And black people still supported him. His views and all that continued to go up because that's what we do. We still support these so-called celebrities, support our heroes, even when they show themselves not to really be for us. Shameful.
His teaching in metaphysics, his ideology was bringing a lot of young people to his channel. And when you remember Young Pharaoh, you remember stuff like this.
Or other races No matter what your genetic code may be, whether it be human-based or Neanderthal-based, you are a different form of the feminine deity of your species, which is your woman.
That's the young Pharaoh that everybody remembers.
He's right,
But then around 2019 to 2020, young Pharaoh made a switch from the normal conscious community style of talk to joining in with the conservatives. Now, he was still himself in many ways, but he had this larger fan base, which was largely white. And I remember many of the young Pharaoh supporters at that particular time kind of concerned or questioned why young Pharaoh would be supporting Trump. And I think it was obvious. It was a lot of money.
He's right,
Young Pharaoh blew up, especially in the conservative.
So he was a sellout from the beginning. He supported Trump for the money. That equates to a sellout. You sold your people out. You sold the community out because Trump does not care about the black community. He wants to eradicate the black community. He would erase it if he could press a button and erase the black community off the face of the earth. He would. So if you supported him and you did it for money, then that means you sold the people out, sold your community out, sold yourself out, sold your soul out, sold your family out for money, which means you're not a real leader. You're a traitor. You're a slave to money. You can't be trusted. So he was never for the people. If all of a sudden he became a conservative, supported Donald Trump, and the allegations is that he did this all for the money, not because this is truly what he believed in, but for the money. Well, he was a sellout from the beginning. I don't know. I don't know this man. I'm just following along.
Arena. However, young Pharaoh would get himself in a lot of trouble, talking about stuff like the COVID-19 and vaccination. He was critical of certain mainstream social movements such as Black Lives Matter. He had also said some hateful things about the Jewish community. And then what happened was YouTube started to change its policies regarding misinformation and harassment, especially amongst COVID-19. And when that adjustment happened, YouTube came and did this to his channel. Now, it wasn't right away that his YouTube channel was gone. He actually raised like $80,000 trying to fight it from his audience, which many people thought that it was a scam. But in July 2020, young Pharaoh filed a high-profile federal civil rights case, Daniels versus Alphabet, which is against Google and YouTube because Alphabet is the parent company. He would accuse YouTube of attacking his free speech, and he would not be successful. In fact, in 2023, he would even owe YouTube's lawyers $40,000 for pretty much wasting their time.
Wow.
But before his career went all the way down, young Pharaoh was still getting to the bag. Now, he did some prison time before coming on to YouTube around 2014, but being a young dude with a lot of money, he was attracting a whole lot of females. And this would attract him to his baby mama by the name of Golden. Now, while young Pharaoh was getting to the bag and getting to money, he was also living polygamous style relationships, having different women, doing his thing. He had moved to Houston. And so at this particular time is when people started to see somewhat of a change.
Yeah, here we go. There's the change, people. Fingernails. You know, I mean, he went off and got the tattoo around his eye and all that some time ago. But then now he started doing this. See all of the tattoos, flowers and all. What is this stuff? Oh, man. And then, no, I'm sorry. Nothing against anyone who wears nails or fingernails, any man that does it. It's your preference. Do whatever you want to do, man. But if you're going to be a black leader and set an example, and you're so conscious and you're an alpha male, then no, alpha males don't wear fingernails. I'm sorry. And no. So yeah, he's going out backward. He started going out. He was just strong, had on his little African garb and was upright and conscious. And he went from that to Little Richard.
In young Pharaoh. And to be honest, after he lost his channels, like he kind of went off the Richter until we saw this.
I noticed that he had these long stiletto nails on
with like a cheetah print designs, and like he was like clicking his nails and singing R&B, and then he started.
Young Pharaoh started to appear on social media with some interesting stuff he's never done before, which is fingernails, which is on live, kind of being in a trance, and then taking very provocative pictures, looking out his tongue, doing things like this. When he started doing this on TikTok or Instagram Live, people also started bringing up the obvious.
Now, I don't have a problem with how a man chooses to adorn himself. If you want to wear nails, that's cool with me. However, it just seems out of character for young Pharaoh. And the comments kept asking him, why you got on nails? And then somebody said that he had just gotten out the psych ward.
This was definitely unlike young Pharaoh. I had never known for him to do stuff like this, never seen it. But once I started to really listen to so many people online, it was two particular conspiracy theories that came out. Number one, young Pharaoh is being cloned.
Damn. Clone.
Somebody kidnapped him and replaced him with somebody else. There's another theory that young Pharaoh was kidnapped by MK Ultra. And if you guys don't know what MK Ultra was, this was like a top secret illegal human experimentation program run by the CIA from 1953 to 1973. Now, this is during the Cold War, and this program was designed to develop chemical, biological, and psychological techniques for mind control, brainwashing, and behavioral modification, right, to gain advantages. And if you look at what's going on with young Pharaoh, then people could argue that that's what they think, that he's had some level of chemical.
No, man, ain't nothing wrong with this dude. Don't scapegoat him. These black individuals that you individuals like and revere, when they go bad, don't excuse it and absolve them of this behavior by saying that, he's been possessed by the CIA. No, this is of his own doing, under his own volition. He may have some mental issues. It would appear so, actually, but it's not the CIA.
And psychological changes to what he used to be from then to now. And then the conspiracies kept coming.
He started bringing other women into his relationship. That was the first red flag, because it was always just him and Golden and their children. And he started trying to, do the poly thing or whatever. And that's what really effed him up. And I feel like it was one of those girls that set him up.
Now, this is interesting to me because I saw similar things happening with Brother Polite, although Brother Polite didn't get fingernails. The fact is that once they got a lot of money, they stopped being the very humble guy in the conscious community, and then they became somewhat of a superstar.
Exactly.
More women, more exposure, and then fell very, very, very hard. This is what she's saying about young Pharaoh, that he had a certain level of knowledge, but he didn't understand the spiritual warfare that was against him. And then there was this.
So once he got to a certain level, bought that big house and all of these things, that's when he started getting spiritually attacked to the T.
And that matches up to this.
Spiritual warfare was being aimed at him. It was making him believe that his baby mamas was the enemy, while he was surrounding himself with a bunch of strangers and bringing in a bunch of new weird people.
Now, this whole idea that young Pharaoh had weird people around him, which explains his downfall in sexuality, preference change possibly, is because someone else came into his life. I'm not sure of that. I mean, I've heard an interview that young Pharaoh recently did. He sounds normal. He seems like he still has a preference for women. He believes that he is okay. And again, I'm not knowing why he's doing this or what's really going on with him, but that's the accusation. But I can tell you that not everybody believes it.
Young Pharaoh now got pictures with his nails. He got some cat nails acting like a cat. You know who was acting like a cat before him? Nature Boy. You know who came up together with young Pharaoh? Nature Boy. You know what y'all did for Nature Boy? You made excuses for him. Now when I see the comments, y'all talk about they got him, MK Ultra. What was young Pharaoh doing that was going to stop the government, stop the world?
Now, Captain Zaryak, who collaborated with the conscious community in Sonnetter, said that, hey, this is something that happens in the conscious community all of the time. These guys abuse women. These guys scam. These guys do a whole bunch of hurtful stuff. And what people are doing right now is making excuses for them. And I kind of saw similar.
Yeah, so they're race hustlers. They're scamming, but they're scamming the community, acting like they care about the community, this so-called conscious community, acting like they care about the community. But the whole time they're scamming the community. These are the worst of our kind. These are the individuals that need to be taken out. For real, taken out.
Things with Brother Polite. When he got arrested, when he was accused of dealing with one of his wife's daughters, he's now in prison. There was a lot of people making excuses for him. And young Pharaoh, even though he does.
Yeah, and Brother Polite is another one that had began to make a lot of money, making money off of the community. He was doing a lot of talking as well, and he had a strong message. Nevertheless, what happens behind closed doors, many of us do not know. And there we see a situation where Brother Polite is now in prison for dealing with his wife's daughter, where you're not in any moral position to go around speaking to the community about being upright, uplifting ourselves when you're doing something illegal that would land you in prison with your wife's daughter. Not only is it illegal, it is immoral. This is why these individuals are accused of grifting and scamming, including young Pharaoh.
Doesn't have any kind of sexual charges against him, but he also, went on the same path with multiple women, trying to live a life of polygamy, losing himself, not being able to handle the fame and the money. And now he's living in Detroit, I believe, in a modest apartment, kind of going crazy. And to be honest, I don't really know what to believe, but I do know that something has happened to him. I believe that he's probably going crazy and probably needs some mental help. I don't really think that this is a sexual preference or anything going on, in my honest opinion. I think it is something that's more serious.
Something
and being in this
going
business
on
for as long as I have,
Hell no.
I know many people think that being.
You see how he was just waving his hand right? He was right there in the bed with those nails waving. I don't even want to do it, man. Oh, no. No, something else going on. There's something going on. It's some mental stuff going on, but also, he's a switch hitter. He hits a home run from the right, and he hits a home run from the left.
The YouTuber is just being a YouTuber, but it's not. This can really get to your head and it can really ruin you. I thank God that I was able to start doing good on the platform in my 30s, because if I had that same level of experience and money in my 20s like young Pharaoh did, I probably wouldn't be on the platform, and I don't know where I would be. Sometimes you gotta thank God that you have your faculties. My godfather, Reverend Willis, used to always say, Lord, if I don't have anything else, let me keep my mind. And everybody wants money. Everybody wants fame. Nobody thinks about the pressures. Nobody thinks about the people that come into your life. Nobody thinks about people that want stuff from you, or people who might be jealous of you, or somebody who might slip something into your drink. You don't think about that when you have the gift that Pharaoh has, or, you're able to talk to people like Brother Polite and you can draw people around you. It's actually a superpower that if you don't use it right, not only can you destroy other people, you can destroy yourself.
Yeah.
I hope that this young brother can really get it together and continuing on his path to recovery. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson back at
O'Shea Duke Jackson. That's O'Shea Duke Jackson. Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. Appreciate you. Appreciate the content, man. Let me know what you all think in the comments. Young Pharaoh then went. I don't know what he even went. First we see a strong young black man. Looking like. Let me get this one picture, man. Where he's looking so strong, and then all of a sudden, he started going bad. But we also hear, that he was accused of dealing with of stealing from Sandra Bland. See that picture right there? You know, he doesn't have on any nails or anything there. You know, he looks strong, clear face, like he's eating healthy, and look how he's sitting upright, you know, and all of that. Got this African vest on, he has a chain on or whatever, but you know, go from that to the picture with him with the nails on, you like, what's going on? And he's clearly intelligent, brilliant even, certainly brilliant. Some of the stuff that he used to spit until he had lost his channel. But, you know, he did not necessarily lose his channel for his content. I mean, yeah, for his content, but not any racial or racist content, but information about COVID and all that. They were trying to put a lid on that. Was YouTube. People spread misinformation, what could be considered misinformation, as O'Shea Duke Jackson alluded to. So he lost his channel, filed a lawsuit and all that. But then, as we can see, it appears things begin to go downhill. I mean, he was accused of setting up multiple GoFundMes for Sandra Bland, and the family receiving none of that money, not any of that money. Multiple women in a relationship after just dealing with his baby mother. Then all of a sudden, apparently this money and fame began to go to his head. And now, apparently, he's held up somewhere in Detroit in a modest apartment, which is okay. At least he's alive, because hell, I heard some stuff just a few days ago that he had passed away. People said that in the videos, and I saw that in titles. I didn't click onto the videos because I didn't believe that he had passed away. People just say anything on YouTube, apparently. I mean, people literally making videos saying he passed away. Talk about clickbait. Jeez. At any rate, he's been going through it, or he went through it. He fell off. Apparently lost some of his money, particularly when he lost his channel. Now we see him with the nails. And what the hell's going on? Brother Polite, he's in prison dealing with his wife's daughter, allegedly, supposedly, but he's in prison for it. They found him guilty, or he pled guilty, whatever. Another individual getting money. These individuals start getting money, getting fame, acquiring all of this fame and money and status now. They have certain women chasing them in the community. They can't turn them all down, apparently. And then they lose their consciousness all of a sudden. They lose their blackness, particularly when the money begins to get good. When it was cool to be MAGA just a minute ago. That's why Poetic Flacco was walking around like he was MAGA. Now MAGA is turning on Trump. He has the lowest approval rating of any president in history, rightfully so. Now everybody's acting, everyone is trying to jump ship, acting like they don't support Trump, like they're not with Trump. No, we have receipts, man, that you people were with him. And so I don't know. Who knows what exactly was going on with this brother. Hopefully he is okay mentally, and if not, can get some help, because he's certainly fallen off, to say the least. And Brother Polite sitting there in prison as we speak, after being so brilliant himself and apparently helping the community with some of his rhetoric and action, now has jeopardized or compromised or certainly divested himself of his legacy with his heinous indiscretions, if it is all true, dealing with his wife's daughter. Who can you trust? Even in the community, these individuals, not standing strong, they all end up betraying the community. Not all, but many of these individuals. We're going to have to be aware of these infiltrators that come in and act like they care about the people, profit, get rich, and then turn their back on us. I'll never do it. Stay safe and stay free. Whoa.